Hi, and welcome back to Trauma Free Healthy Living with Jess Cording. I'm your host, Jess Cording. I'm really excited you're here with me today because I'm going to be doing a short and sweet solo episode on one of my favorite topics that I wrote about for my book, Farewell Tour. This is all about how to deal with unsolicited advice. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how much this topic comes up in my life and my work. The chapter in this book is specifically about when my dad was sick. And, for those of you who are not familiar with my story, when I was 31, my father was diagnosed with advanced inoperable pancreatic cancer. And my family just threw our lives upside down to take care of him. And it was quite the journey. And I just remember that I really held off from telling a lot of people what was going on with my father. One, because he really didn't want a lot of people to know. We wanted to respect his wishes, but also the just terrible, insensitive advice that people would give when they found out he had cancer. Like, just the things that people say to you can be so insensitive and not helpful. And I also find that in my work as a dietitian, spend a lot of time in the oncology world, and my patients share with me things that people have said to them, throughout their journey, and it's just like it blows my mind the things that people think it's okay to say. So I wanted to share a few of just tips and tools just for dealing with unsolicited advice. So if you're reading along, this is chapter 11. So it's called A Small Collection of Unsolicited Advice and Unhelpful Comments. And I'm not going to read this right now, but just some of the ones that I remember just stood out to me. So this came up a lot. Has he tried juicing? Or people would say like, oh, when my father got cancer, then he started eating really healthy, and then now he's all better. And it's like, yeah, that's great. That's really awesome for your dad. Has he tried that chemo where they turn you upside down? Or people telling me I had to go to the farmer's market and buy like these special mushrooms, or like recommend detox diets, and like, are you making him broth? Like all this shit that I was just like, oh my gosh, you haven't even met my father. You don't know anything about this man, what his food preferences are, what he needs, what he wants. Um, you know, telling me about like the green juice that cured your aunt's breast cancer, or the best green tea in the world. And it's like, sometimes with unsolicited advice. And I remember I went through this, like it was a topic where like I was so hungry for answers to the questions I had that people would just spout whatever like came to the front of their mind, and it was really, I wanted someone to like tell me how to balance it all and how to find some semblance of normalcy during this very intense experience, but I was like, it was hard to ask. And, no one's going to be like, oh, I know when I was going through that, like, this is how I made time for laundry. And this is how I maintained relationships with my friends. And this is how I met deadlines and got myself to the dentist. Like, like people weren't really, that's not what we look, it's interesting. Like when we talk about like when someone's going through something very difficult in their life, very rarely does like someone giving just random advice, go to like those everyday things that we tend to stress out about, right? Like those little human things. But I remember feeling, like as a caregiver, like you get so much unsolicited advice. And this also it goes to other types of caregiving too, like new parents, for example. Or if you have someone in your life, with ongoing needs, or but like just unsolicited and just terrible advice. And that's just like really things like, why do people say that? And I remember myself like wanting, like wishing I had like a little sign that could be like blinking over my head, like, please, no advice, please. Just like a shirt, something like just please don't give me advice. Like logically, that people mean well, right? Like we know that people are not trying to be insensitive, and like I'm sure we probably all had that experience too of trying to say the right thing and just knowing that it just doesn't land right, and then we like torture ourselves like hours, days after we say that thing that we're so embarrassed about. I don't know, at least I do. If I ever say something where I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not what I meant to say, like I'll be up in the middle of the night, like feeling stressed. I can't believe you said that way. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving people too much credit, but you know, I think it's important, when you're going through something, even if you're not, and people are just giving you unsolicited advice that you're just like, don't want. Um, I think just take a step back. Remember, maybe you're in a really vulnerable or emotional or sensitive place, and that, maybe your reaction might be, a little stronger than it might be at a different time in your life. That doesn't make it okay, what people are saying. But I think it is important, if someone just drops a bomb on you and you're just like, whoa, like that, wow, okay, you just said that. I think it's important to just take a deep breath, acknowledge, like, okay, first, did I hear what I think I just heard? And so often, yes, you heard some stupid thing that someone just said to you. But once in a while, you will be like, oh, they said that, but I heard this because of what's going on with me. And I think it's important to make that distinction. Because in those cases, it's a chance to be like, okay, like, so what do I need to do internally to help me, move forward in a more positive way and, have a constructive reaction to that thing. Um, but I think, we can't control what other people say to us. That would be interesting if we could. But I think just a few things I know I found very, very helpful. So just one, like I said, take a breath before responding, verbally or non-verbally, right? Like an eye roll, a shoulder shrug, like a sigh, like those all can speak volumes, even though they're not actual words. But just take a deep breath before you respond. Again, just kind of like take in what you just heard. If you need to translate, just like take it in. And then, this is not always easy, but put on the good intention filter, just try to view that person's comment through that lens. And, doesn't always mean it's gonna make sense. Like I think one of my favorites was someone said to me, they're like, wow, I don't know what I would do if my father had cancer. I was like, whoa, okay. We're just gonna smile and nod and move on. But yeah, so put on the good intention filter. Also, so be mindful of this. Like when you're, practicing good self-care, like especially if it's related to things that are supporting, stable blood sugar, you're eating balanced meals and snacks, you're moving your body to keep those endorphins flowing. But those are things that are really good for your mood and your energy that can help you feel more stable in those moments where you get this like advice bomb dropped on you and you have to be, like, oh my gosh, how do I react to that? Like you will feel more resilient in those moments if you're taking care of yourself. Another thing to keep in mind though, it's also okay to feel your feelings, but it's also okay to express them privately, like in a journal or with a therapist or talking to a trusted friend. Hello, baby cat. I have a cat with me here. She may or may not jump up. All right. So let's say someone says something just just really awful to you and you want to respond in a negative way. What I would recommend, give yourself a moment to weigh the pros and cons of saying what's on the tip of your tongue. I think I think it's important to think about this. Like what do you hope will happen if you spit fire at them? Are they gonna see the error of their ways? Are they gonna see it your way? Are they gonna realize that they said something really stupid and never do it again? Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe they are just that much of an idiot, or maybe their feelings are gonna be so hurt because they're in an unstable place and you may end up having to sacrifice that relationship. And that's a very like dramatic the turn of events, but just know, like think it through. Even if it's like a very short thought process, take a beat to think about what do you hope will happen, and what are the pros and cons of saying what's on your mind. One of the pros that can sometimes come up is if you express, hey, like I know you probably meant well with that comment, but that's really hurtful, or that really was triggering me, and now I'm gonna be thinking about it all night. They might have a moment where they learn that that's not something you should say to somebody. Or maybe it'll give you guys a chance to have a deeper conversation that will benefit you both and teach you both something or provide comfort in a different way. So, different things to consider. And then also, lastly, give yourself permission if you need it to just write that person off as a jerk and avoid them if possible. Yep, we have a cat in my lap. All right. So I think it's also, there are going to be those times where it's like someone shows their true colors and shows you that they're not someone that is really someone who should be in your life right now or maybe ever after. And for as long as you need to cool down, whether it's a few minutes, a few hours, forever, give yourself that time. And just, we all have our moments, we're all going to have days where things feel easier, days where things feel more challenging. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, be patient. But yeah, and if it helps, write down the ridiculous things people say to you. Maybe one day it will give you something to laugh about. So as always, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. We will talk soon. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like, share, subscribe. Please consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. They really do help. As always, have a wonderful day. Talk soon.